Midvaal municipality. One of the shining lights of municipalities, getting 6 times in a row a clean audit, and truly a feast there to be celebrated. Bongani, welcome, Mayor.
Thank you, JJ. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you so much for coming all the way.
Good evening to your viewers.
Listen, man, congratulations, man. You know, it must be truly something to behold that you came in, you know, as one of the youngest mayors. You took over, I think, mid-term, and then have to create your own path, and six clean audits in a row. What does it take to do that, especially in the midst of, and we're not exaggerating this, I mean, the Auditor General says what 13% maybe? Yeah. 2 years ago, 5% only of municipalities able to get a clean audit. So it's not something you could sort of just brush aside, you know. So what does it take to actually get something like that? I mean, you can't tell me that you are all angels in a Midvaal. There's nobody there who's stealing money or trying to steal, when you look at the trends in municipalities. So how do we get that right?
Look, JJ, I was fortunate that when I came into my term, I inherited a healthy municipality which had a solid track record, financially stable and viable. So I didn't need to recreate or reinvent the wheel, so to say. So I had to look at areas of immediate improvement, which looked at specifically performance management and evaluation, and cascading down performance evaluation to lower levels to hold more people accountable. So which we started to see that actually the performance is changing. So generally, if we don't monitor and evaluate something, the performance isn't going to be what you desire of it. So we looked at things like that, but generally a commitment to good governance, and also for us as public representatives, understanding why we are in office, but also grappling with the very complex environment of local government. On the one hand, limited purse. On the other hand, a growing expectation of services. The more you perform, the more the expectation becomes. Yes. And I mean, we're all faced within a declining economy, so the cake isn't really growing. So we're trying everything within our limitations and means to ensure that you continuously improve services. But at the heart of it, JJ, is commitment to good governance, strong systems in place, and ensuring that you find problems before they happen. And if they've happened and you've not been aware of it, you must deal with it decisively. Yeah,
it must take a lot of management, because you've got a team of MMCs. Well, what is your team of a mayoral committee?
5 MMCs.
Five people. So with you, 6.
Correct.
So you're looking at 6 broad streams and maybe 6 teams of people working at different places at different times. How do you ensure that there is consistency? Asked differently, does the clean audit mean that there's a margin of error that is considered to still be clean anyway? In other words, the amount of things that have gone wrong, either through procurement or wasteful expenditure, etc., are minimized, or it means 100% performance?
Look, I mean, the Auditor General evaluates 3 areas. One is compliance with all the laws and regulations pertaining to local government. The second part they look at is the finances, the supply chain. There's no margin for error there. If it's irregular expenditure, it's irregular expenditure. Yeah. If it's fruitless, wasteful expenditure, that's exactly what it is. Then the last and most, probably for me, the most important part is the AOPA, the performance, the predetermined objectives. If we said we'll build 1,000 toilets, electrify 1,000 households, and put water in 1,000 households, did we do it? So that's where for me, the most important part lies. And that's the part where in Midvaal we've been able, linked to our capex, we've been able to spend consistently for the past couple of years about 90% of our capex. I mean, that speaks to direct service delivery to the residents and improved over a period of time. So in specific areas there's no margin for error, but in others you can justify why you've not spent your full capex amount as a consequence of community protests, things that you're aware of that happen on the ground. Things that are not in your control. Correct. So there's that margin in respect of that, but there's no margin when it comes to doing wrong things. I mean, if it's wrong, it's wrong. There's no right way of doing the wrong thing. Yeah.
Which brings you to the stuff that came out, I think, last year or year before, I think 2018, about some controversy related to jobs and the job scandal and what. Clarify me, was that resolved? Would you discipline the people? Were the people fired? Was it found that something went wrong there? And where would that fit in within the whole evaluation by the Auditor General? Where would you find it?
Yeah, it's compliance with our own policies. council approves policies, and policies must be adhered to by all of our staff in Sandri, including politicians as well. We found a major weakness in our follow-through of our policies, which, in fact, the major weaknesses were used and manipulated by senior managers who are supposed to be the custodian of those and implement those. So we found that actually in implementation they preferred who to employ and where. And what actually, JJ, frustrates me the most about that experience is that all of that was along racial lines, right? So for white people who did not meet the qualification or the requirements, they were given those jobs. Black people who did not meet the requirements also, before they could enjoy the financial benefit, had to sign a contract that they will get the academic qualification. But for white people, it was not the same. So I found discrepancies which, for me, in the day and era that we found ourselves in, is not consistent with the values I hold and the values of a new South Africa that we dealt with decisively. So a number of people have been dismissed in the organization. The municipal manager has parted ways with the municipality. So we're actually in a state of renewal at this point in time. And JJ, what is quite, I think, important to note is that in that period, we still maintain our clean audit, which speaks about this culture that has been inculcated in the municipality generally. So it's not just
if one person falls, then it doesn't taint the whole municipality because everybody else has absorbed and imbued this culture, so to speak.
Correct.
But this thing of qualification now, is becoming a DA speciality now. Man. What you're telling me is terrible. You know, at Tshwane, there's some guy who was a bodybuilder, became a municipal or a chief of staff, and Camp or the Camp or whoever she was, who was a councillor with no qualification to become chief of staff, was appointed. Has the DA discussed this as a trend that must be clamped down? And I'm mentioning those two because those are prominent examples. But maybe there are others because it seems like it's a trend.
JJ, it's not a uniquely DA thing. In the case you cite for Tshwane, it was a political office. In the case that I looked at, it was done by officials in the municipality, not linked to a political office. So it's those things that we must try and discourage by having strong systems, very strong oversight on those as well, to ensure that we break this on in strong implementation of our policies. It's a government issue. Linked to that is also corruption, manipulation of systems for financial benefit of others as well. So if you don't have a leadership or councils who can find these things, can interrogate these things very quickly. So we've seen where the shortfalls were.
But was it escalated to an organizational matter discussed at your FedEx or one of the DA structures? Because if it happens at your municipality and you're quite transparent about it, so you're going to punish the people, etc. Happened in Tshwane, right? And was not escalated, then I'll worry that it's just brushed aside.
Look, we've got a governance regular meeting with my political party. They do oversight of what I do. And at those platforms, we've discussed when it started, what I'm doing, and I have the full backing of the party leadership to do so. So it was discussed because there was a genuine concern from my party leadership to say, what's happening? Give us clarity. What are you going to do? What's the steps you're going to put in place? So it was a very topical issue and still is, because from what we saw from the audit reports, it recommended specific things that council must do to ensure that we tighten our systems. And I mean, systems are things that you're always evaluating and changing as the culture changes and as you adapt weaknesses in there. I'm just worried that it may taint the good work you are doing if it's not escalated enough. I mean, not without belaboring the point. So Lim Simanga, you talk about political office, let's call it by name, in a mayor's office, who's supposed to make sure people comply. There was non-compliance at least twice, because there was another report with other, things that happened in other parts of the municipality. Then he got promoted. You guys promoted him and said, no, he must go and be premier now. No, man, Bongani, no. You must tell me what the story is. Inside your municipality, because all your councillors are DA, all your MMCs are DA MMCs. That's correct.
How much has the rumblings at the top in the DA disturbed what you are doing now, right? Or affected it in any way? Because obviously when there's fire in Joburg, fire in Pretoria, unless Midvaal is an isolated island somewhere, right, those things must begin to worry you. What are you doing to mitigate that so that the chaos that we see in these other places where things don't seem to be going well, whether be it in Nelson Mandela, Tshwane and Joburg, don't affect what you are doing there?
JJ, those are coalition governments. We've got 59% majority in Midvaal.
Okay.
And we understand what our core business is. We understand what our manifesto is, and we're ruthless in the implementation of our manifesto. So we don't pay much attention to what others are doing in our space, except if there's something for us to learn and to gain out of it and to the direct benefit of my residents. So if there's challenges in Johannesburg, it will only affect us to the extent of the collaboration and some of the things we're planning of stronger collaboration and focusing on specific nodes which are on the borders of both municipalities. But we'll continue with whomever is in the office of Johannesburg as mayor or the executive to do so, because ultimately as government we must serve the needs of our people and work with our stakeholders. So it hasn't affected us much, JJ, because we focus on what we're doing. We've got full majority and I mean within the very fluid environment we've stayed really stable.
Yeah. There was a rumor that you were approached to replace Mashaba and you refused. Is it because you are comfortable, you are now have reached a comfort zone? Because six reports in a row where you are ticking all the boxes. You don't want to go tainted by the corruption in Johannesburg. Mashaba is telling us 6,000 cases of corruption in Job. 6,000. You had one, you solved it quickly. One or two maybe. 6,000 cases there. Was that a consideration at all when you think? Please come. Don't tell me they were not approached. That one, let's pack it. Just tell me whether you should you have been approached. If you were, have thought, no, I'm happy here. Let me just deal with my Midvaal.
It's not an issue whether I'm happy or not happy where I am.
Yeah.
It's an issue of the oath of office that I took, and appreciating that we initially, when I came in, we grew the vote. The majority we had from 52% to 59%. It's people who said we've got confidence in you and what you're selling, so deliver that.
Yeah.
So I can't, at the middle of delivering something where I gave a solid commitment, look at bigger things and leave. I must start something and finish something.
Yeah. Are you subtweeting Mashaba?
No. Subtweeting him how?
He left in the middle, and everybody was loving his work. And then when it got, hot in the kitchen, he said, "No, I can't stay here."
He has his own reasons. I'm speaking for Bongani Baloyi.
Yeah.
And I start something, I finish it.
But his reasons sound like something that can affect you. He's saying that DA doesn't know head or tail of racial issues and so on. And you've just mentioned now that in your own municipality, you found that people were doing things along racial lines. So Mashaba's, whatever outcry, clearly not invalid.
He has his reasons, valid or not. With the opportunity I have to serve Midvaal, I also have the power to change things.
Yeah.
So what I'm confronted with, I've dealt with it, I've changed it. And I'm continuing with many other things, JJ.
Yeah.
So for me, I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I also have a very deep sense of commitment to the people.
Did he ask for your opinion? Did he ask for your view whether he must jump ship or not? Please be frank with me.
No.
He didn't ask you. You just saw on TV like everybody else.
You don't know Mashaba. When Mashaba makes up his mind, he implements. And he wouldn't need my view in any case, because it's a very personal. I mean, you would have heard these reasons.
Yeah.
It's very personal.
No, he's saying that this DA is racist. It's not let's not mess around. He says the DA is racist. These people don't know head or tail. They don't think race is an issue. They want him to operate like he's the majority. It sounded like very cogent things. I mean, I would have stayed to fight it for another 2 months. 2 years, because the elections are only next year, right? Hence, I'm saying that those things that he's saying, surely, right, they affect you, they affect Soli Musimanga, they affect Madigizam. I was very angry when I was asking him about it. After the break, you are going to talk about that. I was talking to Bongani, I was trying to duck and dive, but if you are on that hot seat, there's no ducking. But we must celebrate 6 clean audits in a row. I repeat, get councillors in the buses to go there and have a presentation there by Bongani and his team. Let's take a break.